adventures. This past week we spent it in San Jose Del Cabo at GR Solaris Lighthouse, all-inclusive resort. I highly recommend going down there. It was about 32 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees every day. It was fairly humid. Of course, it's the hottest time of the year for them. It was probably about 70% humidity for every day. It's very, very beautiful there. It has, like, that resort itself has 3 pools. They kind of, like, how do I explain this? The first pool, everybody's kind of in, and there's a swim up bar there, and then it kind of infinities into a little river, and then from that infinities into the activity pool, which has, like, where they're doing their volleyball, their bingo, movie trivia, all sorts of things like that. Then separate from that, kind of right against the beach, is another infinity pool. That one's adults only. It's very calm over there. There's not a lot of noise, other than like what you hear from the activity pool with the speakers and stuff like that, but it's fine. You can't swim in the ocean there, or the sea rather, just because of the riptides and the current and issues like that. They have more than just a swim up bar. They have that swim up bar. They have one when you first kind of go into the resort. There's bars at every restaurant, so there's countless. And it has like this cool little lighthouse, Solaris Lighthouse, right? So there's a lighthouse that goes up. It's kind of like a big tower. At the very top's a bar. It's open 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. every day. The elevator was broken for the first couple of days, so we weren't really able to go in there until the end of our stay. But we managed to get in there the very last night, which you'll see later in this video. So if you go all the way up in the elevator, then you have to walk down one set of stairs. There's no way to access the sushi bar, which is called Tavo. I think they have like 4 reservations for 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night, and 4 reservations from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. So you kind of have to be on top of it, reserve when you get there, plan your things out. And that kind of goes with all the different restaurants they have there. They have that one, which is fresh sushi every day. The other one they have is Don Gus, and it's a Mexican restaurant, which is pretty good. It's authentic, but you get small portion sizes for what it is. Then they have Francesco's, which is an Italian restaurant, which we weren't able to go to because I didn't know you had to bring pants. So if you're going, bring pants. 1 pair, that's all you're gonna need. Pretty much every night they had shows going on, which is really cool. They have they call it the Gatsby show, or Great Gatsby show. That one's really cool. They have like dancing throughout the different eras. Very talented people, and again, there's a bar there where they weight you drinks and things like that. It's really cool to see. You get a lot of people from different places that come there. We met a couple from like Chicago, a couple couples from Chicago. At nearby resorts, there's people from like Toronto. Like pretty much all over. You get a lot of locals this time of year there. That's kind of what I noticed. But they're all good. They're all super friendly. Everyone's pretty respectful of one another. There's no like major issues. And if you do have any issues, like we had noisy upstairs people for a couple nights, the customer service people were very, very, very willing to help out with you. And they spoke to them, and it pretty much ended right there. We were staying right in San Jose Del Cabo. Cabo is kind of like a main area, and it goes like all along the Sea of Cortez down to like the tip of the Pacific Ocean. But where we we're very close to San Jose Del Cabo, and you go out the street and there's like a burger shop, pizza parlor, ice cream parlor. Then you walk down, there's kind of like a strip mall setup, which has there's a new tequila place there. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me, but they're super knowledgeable, super helpful if you're looking for the right bottle or whatever you kind of want to do. There's a lot of little shops there. I think there's a Billabong store, so it's worth it to check out. And then if you take I think the cab was like $2 basically, an Uber, and you can go all the way into town. You can check out an art walk, and that's every Thursday, starting at about 5 or 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. There's gonna be a video kind of a little bit more about, in the video, I guess you'll see it a little bit later on. We go there and you'll see all the different local artists that come. They show you all their work, the little knickknacks. It's really cool, and there's amazing food both at the art walk and in the surrounding restaurants that kind of oversee it all. Of course, in San Jose Del Cabo and most of Mexico, they do, pesos are their currency, but they're very happy to accept American money. But if you do pay in American money, be prepared, you might get pesos back. And the currency is kind of, the exchange rate's kind of up to whoever you're dealing with at that time, which is kind of frustrating. But when we went, it was pretty safe to bet that there's going to be like about $1 for every 20 pesos, about an American dollar. So, 100 pesos, so in and around $5, you can kind of get a ballpark of where you're going to be. And they all kind of stayed relatively within the same. Some of them, would charge noticeably like $1 or $2 more, but nothing that's too bad at the end of the day. Of course, they're very tip heavy down there. So if you do get good service, definitely give them a tip. They're going to be very thankful for it. The food at the resort, it's a buffet style for the most part, outside of the, the restaurants that I mentioned earlier. The buffet style, it's good, for what you get. You're never going to go hungry. They have everything. They have different kind of meats, fish. If you're into that, they have like rice, different kinds of like French fries. They have like mashed potato puree. They have lots of fruits, veggies, like fresh fruit, lots of desserts. Outside, so they have like a breakfast restaurant, and they have your kind of like lunch/dinner restaurant, which are both the buffet style. And then there's also a snack bar right kind of behind the summit bar. You can get out and take a look. They have everything from like nachos to hot dogs, to hamburgers, fries, all the sort of little things that you're swimming around the pool all day in the sun. You kind of need a little pick me up. You don't really want to necessarily go and change, dry off and all of that, just to go and sit down for 10 minutes and go back in the pool. So that's always a good option. Like I said, we did try the Don Gus restaurant. It's a very cool atmosphere when you go in. The only downfall is portion size, but being all inclusive, you can go there like we did with that, as well as the sushi place. We went, we ate, and then we just went and got a second dinner. It wasn't the end of the world. The sushi place is very cool. It's a beautiful view up there, especially in the light, like the bar up there. If you go up there, and you can definitely kind of, since it opens at 6, typically you can see the sunset when you go up there. It sets kind of behind the mountains. It's very nice. The staff up there are so helpful when you don't really know what you want to drink necessarily. They make lots of recommendations. Overall, we stayed for 6 nights. So we flew in Monday afternoon, and we left Sunday afternoon. So a lot of staff are super friendly. I do recommend it. Overall, it's a really good experience. Out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it like a 4.5. A lot of the things, it's just kind of nitpicky things, but there are some things they can improve on. But again, I think it's more like building construction, like soundproofing and things like that, but nothing you can change down there. It's kind of just like the building code and things like that. If you're looking for a place to go and relax down in Cabo, check out this video and you can make your own determinations about it.
Pleasant.